Welcome to the CXR channel, our premier podcast for talent acquisition and talent management. Listen in as the CXR community discusses a wide range of topics focused on attracting, engaging, and retaining the best talent. We're glad you're here.
Welcome, everybody, to another Career Crossroads podcast. This segment or this session or this special edition is called a Have You Met? And I'm pretty excited today. We have industry individual personality who's been around quite a while in the space. She's got some pretty impressive history. I mean, she comes out of Edward Jones. I think you were there for nearly a decade. BJC Healthcare, all this in talent acquisition. And now you're at Centene Corporation, right? So Mirandah Thomas, you are the leader of talent intelligence at Centene. I got to ask you, what does that even mean?
Yes. Well, the funny thing is that we've had to kind of figure it out along the way, believe it or not. But where we are today and what we are is, so we are focused on providing external market talent, market intelligence to our stakeholders, which would include both our TA, full cycle recruiting partners, and leaders. And then we also are focused on sourcing, strategic sourcing for difficult to fill or challenging roles across our organization. So we've been experiencing a little bit of an evolution in our focus.
Sure. Yeah. Well, is the term talent intelligence, at least in your world, is that being used external talent intelligence, like a research intel, or is it also internally, like from a mobility and maybe internal search standpoint?
So far it has really been focused more externally than internally, but as the world changes, we so too evolve and change with it. But yes, right now the focus has really been external. So we're kind of helping our leaders and our stakeholders to connect the dots and really understand what the talent market and landscape looks like, particularly for some of these critical skill sets and roles where we're having to go external because we don't already have an internal pipeline. So our team is there to kind of help connect those dots and build a strategy, help build an external marketing strategy. But we do that with other partners as well. We have a brand team that we partner with when it comes to branding, and also our delivery team or our full cycle talent attraction team. We do it all in partnership. It takes a village, really. So
if you've got a village, it says a lot about your organization. Can you just, for those who may not have heard of Centene, can you give us sort of the escalator pitch of what Centene is and what you guys do?
Yes. We're a managed care health organization, and really we primarily focus on bringing healthcare to some of the country's most underserved communities, primarily focused in the Medicare and Medicaid space. And so, you can imagine that with, what's been going on with the economy, the country, COVID, the demand for Medicaid, Medicare services has just continued to increase. And so with that, we've seen some definite organic growth. And then also we've acquired companies. Last year, about a year ago, we completed, the acquisition of WellCare, which is also a very large managed care company. So within the span of 3 years, we've almost doubled in size. So, and kind of that's catapulted us to, essentially a Fortune 50 company in a very short amount of time. So you can imagine how TA has been at the forefront of that growth and trying to help the organization navigate that.
Well, I mean, to go through that in a normal year, right? Because the last calendar year of recruiting has been anything but normal. So to go, well, for anybody, right? So, but to go through that in a normal year, a challenge in and of itself, big deal. right? You've got team alignments, you've got responsibilities, you've got reorg, you've got, I mean, all these crazy things. And if you're doing any structure or leading an intelligence or a sourcing team across the organizations and keeping them out of sight, a big challenge. But then
Yes.
to throw COVID into the mix,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And how recruiting changes and how candidate behaviors have changed in the
Yes.
last year. Like what's with all of that, right? I
Yes.
applaud you for just not hanging up your hat and saying you're done, right? But what do you think is sort of the biggest thing you're dealing with now? Like what's top of mind for Mirandah?
Yes. There's a lot, but there's a lot, but I will say some things that have really been top of mind. So first and foremost, probably one of the primary reasons that I was even attracted to this organization is our head of talent acquisition, our VP of talent acquisition, her strategic vision for TA and how we were continuing to move towards a more proactive recruiting structure and helping the organization to better align the capabilities and the needs of the organization to how we target talent, right? And how we assess talent. So, there's just been a lot of talk about our evolving world of work, right? And what that means and what are the core capabilities and competencies aligned with that, and then helping the organization to understand what does good look like. What does good look like when we're identifying talent, assessing talent, and helping them navigate those conversations. And those things help inform kind of the strategy for my team. So that's one, and my team just moving more towards these what we're calling focused talent pools, right? So in sourcing, it's always a challenge that you get bombarded with just-in-time recruiting, and we will always, to an extent, support some level of just-in-time recruiting, but we are starting to continue to evolve to understand where our most critical skill sets are, particularly where we have to go external. And we're developing what we're calling focused talent pools, where we have individuals from my team that are aligned to those certain critical skill sets, and they can be actively building and engaging that talent for now and the future. So that's something that's definitely consuming a lot of time. And then I think the other thing is to what you mentioned with just the world that we're in right now. Candidate behavior is not quite changed, although the demand has continued to increase, right, for talent, right? The floodgates are starting to open across many organizations as far as, now seeking to acquire that talent. And candidates are still kind of trying to determine, like, do I even want to make a move right now still? And so we're kind of having to maybe talk more about even maybe taking things back to the basics when it comes to our strategy of outreach to candidates, because the response rate is still very low right now. So,
Well, that's the thing. So I know that people typically listening to our show are going to understand exactly what you're saying. But folks who maybe are just watching the news and seeing unemployment rates, and they're thinking it's got to be really easy to hire right now. It's got to be super easy because everybody's looking for work. But in some of these roles, very specialized roles or more senior roles, even mid-level and above, like nobody wants to move, right? They're trying to play it safe, and they're hunkering down.
Yes.
And kind of trying to wait this out. And I think to your point, Mirandah, like the wave is coming in that you're being expected to hire more, right, as we come out of this. And you're not the only one. I've talked about a dozen TA leaders in the last couple of weeks who said, and I'll quote one that I just met with this morning, it is a tsunami that is on its way, and I don't have the staff to address the lower response rates and the lower traffic, right, and the declinations that are at an all-time record high. What are you going to, not to put you on the spot, but
yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of what I was saying is that, we're starting to think about, put yourself in the candidate's shoes, and how are we processing information right now during this pandemic, right? My personal email box is just an email address that I give out when I have to give one, but I rarely check it. you know, and to be honest, the best way to probably get in contact with me is probably through my phone. So whether
same way.
yes,
Don't
yeah,
LinkedIn message me. Don't. Yeah, I drown in all of it. Yeah.
yep, yes. So we're kind of having to take it back to those basics, and where we can, think about, and especially when you think about people being at home right now instead of in an office. When you think about cold calling someone before, when they were in an office and maybe their cubicle, it didn't have, walls, and hey, I'm my boss is like right over the wall here, but it's different now. People are actually at home. So having a conversation doesn't necessarily feel the same way. They may not be any less busy, they're still busy, but it's the thought is that, we can't just completely let that go by the wayside. We have to kind of balance the two,
I love the back to the basics aspect. I mean, the blocking and the tackling of sourcing and recruiting and fine tuning those skills, and that radical concept of picking up the phone.
Yes.
So those of us who've been doing this a little while, that's sort of where we had a Rolodex or those little flip Rolodex right on the desk and keeping track of that. So I think that's great. Uh, is that something you guys are sort of pushing internally at Centene? Is just, smile and dial, pick up the phone a little bit more than an email barrage or an email, blast?
It's definitely been a conversation that my team has been having, because we've gotten accustomed to the technology. I love the technology and we all got accustomed to it. And, especially when you're demonstrating success. And I'm not going to lie, it's efficient, right? If I can send a message to, 50 people at once instead of having to call one person at a time, it is more efficient. We're in a different time now. And so, it may be, okay, you may start out with a LinkedIn InMail or an email. And then after you don't get a response, maybe you follow up with a phone call, or something like that. And so it's kind of, and coming fresh off SourceCon, I think there was a lot of chatter and discussion about, leveraging different tactics, doing A/B testing with your messaging, and having to be persistent and understanding candidates don't owe you anything, right? They're busy human beings just like you are, and so them not responding does not necessarily mean they're not interested. It just means that you didn't fall to the top of their priority list that day.
Well, that's true. You mentioned a point earlier, like it's not that they're not busy anymore. I mean, we're finding that they're more busy or they're more exhausted or that type of thing.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, Miranda, you called out a resource, SourceCon. I have to say they're one of the resources within the industry. I'm so glad we're able to sort of pivot and continue to deliver really great content. If I'm not mistaken, ERE's got something going on this week for high volume recruiting. SourceCon stuck with it. So, I mean, that's a resource we should really be proud of and continue to support in the space as we get through this.
Yes, definitely. Well, it's always great. Just communities like this one, like Career Crossroads, like SourceCon. I think that's what I like the most is just the info sharing and how these communities are just so open. Actually, earlier today, I just got off the phone call with someone that I networked with at SourceCon, and we, another leader, some similar challenges, things, bouncing ideas off each, and it's just great to be able to reach out to those people and talk. And it's like, have you tried this? What is your thought on this? So that's the thing I love the most.
That feels so good. It warms my heart. I love that. Well, Miranda, it's great to get a couple of minutes, get to know who you are and the stuff that you're working on. Love that you're leaning all into various communities. I think it's just wonderful. You know where we are if you ever need anything.
Yes.
And thank you so much for your time today.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks for listening to the CXR channel. Please subscribe to CXR on your favorite podcast resource and leave us a review while you're at it. Learn more about CXR at our website, cxr.works, facebook.com and twitter.com/careercrossroads, and on Instagram at careerxroads. We'll catch you next time.